Paul Finebaum, noted Saban provocateur, if you will. Paul, there's video going around right now of you saying back in November that you thought that this was his finest season coaching, and that was before they made a CFP semi. So what was your reaction to him retiring?
Not surprised, Elle, because there's been signals pointing toward this for a very long time. But the problem is every time you dare to breathe that, somebody wants to punch you in the mouth and say that he's never going to retire, that he'll be there forever. But the reality is, I think he knew how special this season was. He beat the odds. Don't forget the 4th and 31 at Auburn when nobody expected them to do it. And then he did the unthinkable. He ended the Georgia hopes of a three-peat. And I think that was very special to him because he stopped Georgia and went to the playoffs. At the Rose Bowl last week, a lot of people came out of there going, there's no way he would walk away, and the narrative got drowned out. But deep down, I think he knew this was the moment. Win or lose last week, it was a great time to leave.
Certainly no one has covered college football quite the way that you have during Saban's historic run. I joked a little bit, but you have had truly a symbiotic relationship, if you will. And I'm just wondering how you would characterize the last 2 decades that he's had in college football.
Elle, I was about to say it's been unlike anything I've ever seen, but remember, and you can just take a look at me and know that I'm not lying about the fact that I covered the end of Paul Bryant for 3 years. And that final day when he announced on December 15th, 1982, that he was stepping down, it was the saddest thing I'd ever seen. And I walked out of there feeling sorry for myself. I was a 25-year-old reporter who said to myself, because nobody else would talk to me back then, my career's over. I'll never cover anything this great again. And then Nick Saban landed on January 3rd, 2007. Yes, we remember that day very well. And everything changed. He won a national championship in 3 years and then 5 more and came close about 3 or 4 other times.
Who do you believe, because now that we're sort of doing a lot of introspecting, retrospecting, if we will, there's still the little matter of the fact that Alabama is a juggernaut program with lots of prospects who now find themselves without Nick Saban there. Who do you think is the best candidate to fill those very large shoes?
I think the name you're going to hear the most is Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning spent some time as a graduate assistant at Alabama before moving over to work with Kirby Smart. I think you'll hear a couple of other names. You'll hear Steve Sarkisian. I don't know if this is a reality or not, but I think at some point DeMeco Ryans' name is going to be mentioned. It's unlikely that he would walk away after a masterpiece this year in Houston, but don't forget, he was an All-American at Alabama and is beloved by that fan base. So I think that's where you start. Lane Kiffin's name will be thrown around. I don't know if that's something that will come to fruition, but those are the names you will hear the most prominently.
And the buyout, the money you'll hear as well. We just saw it there with Dan Lanning, a $20 million buyout that they'd have to pay Oregon. I want to ask you finally, Paul, because again, you guys will have, and it will go down as one of the more memorable relationships, media person and coach. Do you have a moment, though, an indelible moment that stands out to you when you think about Nick Saban?
Yes, it occurred a week after his first national championship. I went out with some friends of his to Houston for the Paul Bryant Award. Now remember, this is exactly 1 week after he beat Texas in the Rose Bowl. And we're at this cocktail party, and he saw me and gravitated toward me. So not that he liked me, he just didn't want to talk to anybody else. It was easier for him to talk to one person than 150 and take pictures. So I congratulated him. I said, congratulations, Coach. This must be remarkable. And he looked at me as if I had said something unkind about his family. He said, what's so remarkable about it? I just lost a week in recruiting that I'll never get back.
Is there anything more symbolic than that and Nick Saban? Incredible. Paul Finebaum, thanks for sharing your unique perspective as Nick Saban has decided he is calling it quits. We take a look at the coaching tree. We've talked about that a lot, Kevin, right? Just the impact that he's had, not just with his players, but also with the coaching tree. Some of the country's best. Kirby Smart, appreciate you for that. Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, they came up under Saban. Plus, this list doesn't even include former coaches such as Jimbo Fisher, Will Muschamp, Mark D'Antonio, who all come from Saban's tree as well. Give me something I can feel.